My husband let his mother plan our vow renewal. She chose the venue, the food, even the dress, and said, it's what he would want. I told him I felt invisible. He said, I don't want to upset her, she's excited. So on the day of, I let her walk down the aisle with him, while I watched from a car parked outside. Then I texted them a photo of my luggage and a message, enjoy your wedding. I'm rewriting my ending. I've been married to my husband, Eric, for 17 years. We met in college in Oklahoma, moved to his hometown, Lubbock, Texas, after graduation. I was in love. I didn't see all the warning signs at the time. He's the youngest of 3 boys. His mom, Donna, always treated him like her little king. I used to think it was sweet how close they were. Until I realized there were no boundaries. None. And anytime I tried to set one, I was made out to be the bad guy. Example, when we were newly married, I came home one day and she was just in our house. He'd given her a key, didn't tell me. Said it was in case of emergencies, but she used it to drop by whenever she wanted. I asked him to talk to her about it, and he said, I don't want to hurt her feelings. That line, I don't want to hurt her feelings, became his motto. Every fight we had about her started and ended with that. Now fast forward to 2024. Our youngest had just started high school. We'd been through a lot: infertility, financial problems, a brief separation after he lost his job in 2015. But we stayed together. We worked it out. We were stable again. So when he brought up the idea of doing a vow renewal, I was actually touched. He said he wanted to make new memories, that we deserved a real wedding this time. I was on board. I thought maybe we'd go to the hill country, rent a vineyard, invite some friends and family, do it our way. Then Donna got involved. It started small. She offered to help. I said, thanks, but I'd like us to plan it ourselves. Eric said, come on, it'll make her feel included. I should have shut it down there. The first red flag was the venue. I wanted something outdoors. Maybe a simple garden ceremony. She pushed for her church, some stuffy old Baptist place where I always felt judged for wearing pants. I told Eric, that church doesn't feel like us. His answer? It means a lot to her. She wants to be involved. The second red flag was the food. I don't eat meat. Haven't for years. I asked if we could have at least one vegetarian entree. Donna said, well, Eric loves prime rib. And the green bean casserole is a family tradition. No salad. No option. Just meat and starch. I told Eric, I'd like to eat at my own damn vow renewal. He shrugged. She's just excited. Excited. That word came up every time I complained. Then came the dress. I hadn't even started looking. One day, Donna called me out of the blue. I found your dress. You'll look so elegant. Very appropriate for the church. Appropriate? It was this stiff, high-necked, long-sleeved white thing with lace all over it. Looked like something out of a 1980s church catalog. I felt like I was wearing a costume. I told her it wasn't really me. She said, well, Eric said he likes it. That's when it hit me. This whole event wasn't about us. It was about her. She was treating it like the wedding she never got to throw. And Eric? He didn't care. Not really. He wanted to keep her happy. If that meant I had to feel invisible, so be it. I told him how I felt one night. I feel like I'm disappearing, I said. Like this is her wedding, not ours. He just stared at the TV and said, can we not do this tonight? That's when I made a decision. I wasn't going to be a prop in their little fantasy. So I started quietly planning my way out. I made a checklist. Took pictures of all our documents. Set up a P.O. box in another town. Called an old friend I hadn't spoken to in years, someone I trusted. I didn't even tell my sister what I was doing. I couldn't risk anyone talking me out of it. I had to be sure. The night before the vow renewal, I packed a small suitcase and left it in the trunk. I laid out the awful dress on the bed like I was going to wear it. I even let Donna steam it earlier that day. Then I set my alarm for 7 a.m. I got dressed in jeans and a hoodie. Made coffee like normal. Said I was running to the store for last-minute makeup. Instead, I drove to the venue. I parked across the street and waited. Guests started arriving. I saw Donna outside, greeting everyone like she was the damn bride. Eric was laughing with his brothers, posing for pictures. And then it happened. The music started. The doors opened. And there she was. Donna, walking him down the aisle. Like he was 5 years old. Like she was handing off her child at a debutante ball. Not one person seemed confused. Not one person questioned it. That was the moment it all clicked for me. I had never been his partner. Not really. I was just someone who fit into the role. Someone expected to smile and stay quiet while his mother played wedding planner. So I took a photo of my suitcase. Sent it to both of them in a group text. Enjoy your wedding. I'm rewriting my ending. Then I turned off my phone and drove. I drove for hours. Didn't cry. Didn't scream. Just kept driving east toward Austin. I had no real plan, just knew I couldn't stay. Not after that. Checked into a cheap motel just outside of Waco. Paid cash. Sat on the edge of the bed and finally turned my phone back on. 37 missed calls. Most were from Eric. A few from Donna. 2 from his brother Nate. No voicemails from Eric, he never liked leaving them. But Donna? Oh, she left one all right. You have humiliated my son and this entire family. I hope you're proud of yourself. I didn't respond. Not yet. I scrolled through the messages. The last one from Eric hit different. It said, "Tell me this isn't real. Just come inside. We can fix this." That was 4 hours after I left. There was no we to fix. 2 days later, my sister found me. She drove all the way from Fort Worth and showed up at my motel with a backpack full of snacks, clean clothes, and a lot of questions. What the hell happened? I told her everything. How long I'd been feeling invisible. How Eric let Donna steamroll every part of the vow renewal. How he never once said, "Let's do what we want." She sat on the bed, quiet for a long time. Then she said, "Honestly, I'm proud of you. That's the first real you decision you've made in years." We stayed up most of the night. I finally cried then. Let it all out. The next day, she helped me find an Airbnb in Round Rock, closer to Austin. I applied for a temp job at a small dental office. Got it within a week. Started over. I was free. But they weren't done with me. 3 weeks later, I got a certified letter from a lawyer. Donna was suing me. Technically, it was Eric's name on the papers, but everyone knew where it came from. She was trying to recoup the costs of the wedding, her word, not mine. Claimed I'd caused emotional distress. Fraud. Breach of contract. It was ridiculous. But it was real. She'd paid for the venue, the food, the photographer, the dress. I hadn't signed anything, but now they wanted me to pay her back for it all because I didn't show up. I hired a lawyer of my own. That meant dipping into savings I didn't want to touch. I hadn't planned on using that money for legal fees. I'd set it aside for an apartment deposit, maybe a used car. Instead, I was now fighting a lawsuit from my own husband's family. And then, like it couldn't get worse, it did. I got a call from my old boss in Lubbock. He said he'd been contacted by someone asking about my mental state. Said it felt more like character digging than a reference check. I asked him who it was. He said the woman only introduced herself as Donna. That's when I lost it. She wasn't just trying to ruin my memory. She was trying to ruin my life. I called Eric. First time I'd spoken to him since I left. He answered on the second ring. "Hi." That's all he said. Like we were strangers. I didn't bother with small talk. "I know your mother is behind the lawsuit. I know she's digging into my past. You let her drag me into court after everything, and you're just standing there doing nothing." He didn't deny it. Instead, he said, "She's hurt. We all are. You humiliated us." I was stunned. "You're really okay with this?" I asked. He said, "I just think maybe you could have handled it differently." That was the moment I knew he'd never see it. He really believed I was the one who crossed the line. I hung up, and I started planning again. This wasn't going to end in court. This wasn't just about money anymore. It was about dignity. And I wasn't going to let Donna rewrite the story. I sat in that quiet little Airbnb for hours after that call. Couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep. Eric's voice kept echoing in my head. Maybe you could have handled it differently. He meant I should have shut my mouth. Walked down that aisle. Let his mom throw a second wedding while I smiled for the pictures. He wanted me to just keep taking it, like I always did. I was done playing the quiet wife. So I called my lawyer. Told her I didn't just want to defend myself, I wanted to counter. Donna had made this personal. She was dragging my name through the mud, telling people I had abandoned Eric at the altar. I wasn't going to sit quietly while she made me out to be some unstable monster. I filed a harassment complaint, named her specifically, listed the calls to my employer, the texts, the lawsuit. My lawyer was smart, she said, to document everything. So I did. I sent screenshots, voicemails, copies of the weird mental wellness inquiries. Then I started talking to people who knew Donna. Turns out, I wasn't the first woman she'd tried to control. One of her ex-daughters-in-law messaged me on Facebook. She said, "I heard what happened. You're not alone. That woman ruined my marriage too." We got coffee. Talked for hours. Turns out Donna had been a problem for all her son's partners. But Eric? He was her favorite. Her little golden boy. She never let him grow up. She'd even tried to plan his first wedding to me, but we eloped to avoid it. She never forgave me for that. This vow renewal? That was her second shot. And I'd taken it from her. That's why she was out for blood. She didn't care about the money. She wanted to make me regret ever saying no to her. So I gave her something to regret too. I started telling my story. At first, just to close friends. Then a coworker suggested I post it in a local women's support group. I wrote a long post. Just facts. No name calling. No drama. Just what happened. It blew up. Hundreds of comments. Women thanking me for standing up for myself. A few people even guessed who Donna was. Apparently, she had a reputation in town. I didn't expect what came next. A local podcast, one that focuses on toxic family dynamics, reached out and asked me to speak anonymously. I said yes. The episode went live 2 weeks later. Titled, Mother-in-Law or Mastermind? It hit a nerve. I didn't name names, but people figured it out anyway. Suddenly Donna wasn't getting sympathy. She was getting side eyes at church. People pulled out of her garden club. Even Eric's boss asked him, "Is this about your wife?" She called me, furious. "How dare you air our private business like that?" I said, "You made it public when you sued me." Click. Then something unexpected happened. Nate, Eric's older brother, reached out. He asked to meet. We sat in a diner near my work. He looked tired. Said Donna was losing it. That she blamed him now for not doing more to stop me. "She's unraveling," he said. "She told my kids you were a bad influence. Said you'd poisoned the family." I laughed. He didn't. "She thinks Eric's going to bring you back. She still thinks he can fix this." I asked, "And what does Eric think?" Nate just shook his head. "He says he still loves you. But he can't stand up to her. Never could." That told me everything I needed to know. I didn't want revenge anymore. Not in the petty way. I didn't want to hurt them. I just wanted to finish this. So I made one final move. I gave Eric one last chance. Sent him a message. "Meet me. No lawyers. No mom. Just us." He agreed. We met at a neutral spot, a park in Georgetown, halfway between our old life and the one I was building. When I saw him, I barely recognized him. He looked like he hadn't slept. Eyes hollow, shoulders slumped. He sat next to me on a bench, hands in his lap. First thing he said? "You really hate her, don't you?" That told me everything. I didn't hate Donna. I pitied her. But what I hated, what I'd finally accepted, was how he let her win. I told him, "You didn't lose me because of your mom. You lost me because you never stood up for me. Not once. You let her plan our vow renewal like I didn't even exist." He looked down like a kid being scolded. "I didn't know it would hurt you that bad," he whispered. That was honest, at least. Stupid, but honest. "I left because I realized I was alone in our marriage," I said. "I watched your mother walk you down the aisle like she was marrying you herself. And you smiled." That was the moment I knew I was done. We sat in silence. Then I handed him an envelope. Inside was a signed divorce agreement. I'd waived spousal support. All I wanted was peace. He didn't even read it before signing. Just said, "I'm sorry." I stood up and walked away. That was the last time I saw him. 2 months later, the lawsuit was dropped. My harassment complaint had teeth. Her calling my former employer crossed a line. My lawyer sent a warning that if Donna didn't back off, we'd go public with more. She folded. Fast. She withdrew the case, sent a short apology through her attorney, and slithered back to her side of Lubbock. But the damage was already done. People knew. The podcast, the Facebook post, the whispers in town, they stuck. She wasn't the queen bee anymore. She was just a bitter woman who lost control. Eric moved out of her house a month after that. I heard he rented a small apartment near his job. I also heard he started seeing a counselor. Maybe he's trying to change. Maybe not. Doesn't matter. I stayed in Round Rock. Got a better job. Found an apartment with sunlight and hardwood floors. Started walking every morning. It was the first time in years I didn't feel like I was walking on eggshells. But here's the truth. I wasn't innocent either. I stayed too long in silence. I let myself shrink to keep the peace. I ignored the signs. Laughed off the red flags. Called it just how she is instead of protecting myself. I made myself small, hoping I'd be loved more for it. I won't do that again. Last week, I opened a small notebook and wrote 3 words on the first page: rewrite my ending. Not because I needed revenge. Because I needed a new beginning. And this time, it's mine.